What happens when your entire identity is built around loving someone who may not love you back anymore? For years, Papoose was the gold standard for loyalty. While Remy Ma served time behind bars, he stood tall, visiting her, waiting for her, and publicly declaring that no other woman could ever take her place. He wasn't just a rapper anymore, he was the face of devotion. But what happens when the image outlives the reality? It started as something beautiful, a rare kind of commitment that people dream about. Social media fell in love with their story. Hashtags like #NotBlackLove and relationship goals followed them everywhere. People didn't just admire them, they needed to believe in them. But sometimes the image we project becomes so polished, so carefully curated, that it starts hiding the truth, even from ourselves. Behind the filtered posts and stage smiles, something had changed. Quietly, subtly. The intimacy was gone. The connection had faded. Yet Papoose clung to the relationship like it was the last thread holding his identity together. He kept promoting the fantasy long after the foundation had started to crumble. And maybe that wasn't about love anymore. Maybe it was about something deeper and far more dangerous. Remy eventually said what everyone had started to suspect. In an Instagram live that shocked her fan base, she admitted that she and Papoose hadn't even shared a bed since 2022, that she paid for her own lavish push gift, the kind of gift people assumed Papoose had proudly presented. And yet, through it all, Papoose continued sharing sweet captions and celebratory posts like nothing had changed, like he was still the husband the internet had fallen in love with. But the cracks were showing, and not just in their marriage. They were showing in his identity, in his understanding of who he was without her. When someone fuses their entire self-worth to a role, like being Remy Ma's loyal husband, what happens when that role disappears? The answer? Denial. And then obsession. This wasn't just heartbreak, this was identity collapse in slow motion. The refusal to move on, the desperate need to maintain an illusion, it all pointed to something deeper than lost love. Papoose wasn't just fighting to keep a marriage, he was fighting to keep himself from disappearing. And that's what makes this story so tragic, because even when the truth came out, even when the mask started slipping, he didn't let go. He couldn't. And the more people praised him for being the perfect husband, the harder it became to admit that the reality no longer matched the fantasy. But here's where it gets darker. Because while Papoose was keeping up the performance, Remy dropped a financial bombshell that turned everything upside down. Remy's admission wasn't just emotional, it was financial. In one swift moment, she shattered the illusion that Papoose had been the sole provider and protector. She revealed that not only did she pay for her own extravagant push gift, but she also handled her own bills, her own travel, her own life. For someone who had been celebrated as the embodiment of sacrificial love, this was a devastating blow to Papoose's image. Fans were stunned. Had they been romanticizing a man who was more invested in optics than partnership? Was he really the supportive husband the internet crowned? Or had he been riding the wave of Remy's narrative while clinging to an outdated version of their relationship? The cracks turned into fractures when whispers of jealousy started surfacing. Some claimed that Papoose wasn't just upset over the emotional distance. He was angry that Remy was rising, glowing, winning, without him. After her release, Remy Ma's career reignited with force. She was on shows, red carpets, and hosting battle rap events that drew thousands. And every time she stepped into the spotlight, she seemed more independent, more in control, more alone. Papoose, on the other hand, had become more of a background figure. Once known for his lyrics and low-key strength, he now seemed stuck in a loop, posting anniversary throwbacks, editing tribute videos, and clinging to a version of Remy that no longer existed. His love felt less like partnership and more like performance. And while he was holding on, Remy was changing. People close to the couple say that she began distancing herself from the narrative of being Papoose's queen. She wanted to be her own brand, her own story. That shift may have been quiet at first, but it became louder and more controversial when battle rap fans started speculating about her connection with Eazy The Block Captain. Rumors flew like wildfire. Was Remy romantically involved with the rising battle rapper she had been mentoring and managing? She denied it, but the body language, the subtle interactions, and the undeniable chemistry on stage told a different story. And if it was true, it didn't just spell betrayal. It hinted at a complete power shift. Because here's the thing, Papoose had built his identity around being the unshakable husband. If Remy was no longer the partner he thought she was, And if she had emotionally, or even physically, moved on, then who was he? A heartbroken man? A jilted ex? A footnote in someone else's comeback story? That's when fans began noticing something even more alarming. Papoose was disappearing. Not literally, but online. Less presence, less content, less life. It was like watching a man slowly erase himself from the picture he used to proudly star in. But this wasn't the end of the story, because behind the scenes, things were about to explode. A physical altercation would bring everything to light, and it wouldn't be just emotional anymore. The internet was still buzzing with speculation when reports surfaced about a shocking fight at a private battle rap event. According to multiple sources, Papoose allegedly confronted Eazy The Block Captain backstage, and it wasn't just words that were exchanged. While details were murky at first, whispers began circulating that Papoose had laid hands on Eazy in what some described as a full-blown altercation. Unverified rumors claimed Eazy walked away bruised and bloodied, with some even alleging he got washed in front of industry peers. And while no official police report was ever filed, the streets and social media ran wild with theories. Fans were torn. Was Papoose standing up for his marriage, or had he snapped under the weight of public humiliation? Was this a calculated message to both Remy and her rumored new flame, or just an act of desperation? And perhaps the most chilling part of it all, Remy Ma said nothing. Not a single tweet, not a statement, not a denial. While her name trended for days and clips of the alleged altercation were dissected frame by frame, she remained completely silent. That silence was deafening, because up until then, Remy had always been vocal, quick to defend Papoose or shut down false narratives. But now, nothing. To many, that silence felt like confirmation. And then came the battle that broke the internet. Remy hosted a rap battle where her rumored love interest, Eazy, took the stage, and Pap was nowhere in sight. It wasn't just awkward, it was a public shift in loyalty. Eazy rapped with confidence, throwing subliminal shots at anyone doubting his position. The crowd roared. And Remy, she stood just feet away, smiling, nodding, clapping. For fans of Remy and Pap, it felt like betrayal playing out in real time. Memes exploded. TikToks mocked the once-admired love story. Comment sections were brutal, filled with phrases like, "Papoose was just a phase" and "Remy upgraded." The internet had officially turned, and Papoose was losing the narrative. But the real twist, this wasn't just about cheating or ego. It was about identity. For years, Papoose had been known as the loyal husband. That was his brand. That was his story. Without Remy, who was he? And Remy, she was finally standing alone, not as someone's wife, not as a rapper's muse, but as a power player in her own right. She was hosting shows, managing artists, and expanding her empire. And whether or not she was involved with Eazy, she had clearly outgrown the box she once fit in. But just when people thought things had finally hit rock bottom, the story took one last, unexpected turn. Just when it seemed like the chaos had completely swallowed Remy's legacy, something unexpected happened. She stopped hiding. Instead of retreating, she doubled down. More public appearances, more interviews, and most notably, more solo moves. Remy Ma re-emerged not as the scorned wife or cheating villain, but as a calculated industry boss, unbothered and unapologetic. No statements were made, no clarifications offered. But her silence began to feel less like guilt and more like strategy. Then came the viral interview where she was asked point-blank about the allegations. Her response? A sly smile, followed by, "People gonna believe what they want to believe." No denial, no defense. Just that one line. And suddenly, the power dynamic had shifted again. Fans were divided. Some felt betrayed, accusing Remy of playing both sides and humiliating Papoose after everything he'd done. Others praised her for finally stepping into her own narrative, shedding the outdated image of the devoted rap wife and becoming a symbol of female independence in hip-hop. As for Papoose, he slowly faded from the spotlight. His cryptic posts hinted at heartbreak, but he avoided any public mudslinging. That silence, once seen as noble, now felt heavy, maybe even resigned. In a strange twist, the man once admired for his unwavering loyalty now seemed lost, while Remy appeared more in control than ever. And Eazy, his career only grew. Whether fans liked it or not, being linked to Remy gave him a new level of exposure. His name was in headlines, his interviews got clicks, and his shows drew crowds. Love him or hate him, he'd become a central figure in one of hip-hop's messiest real-life plot twists. But here's the question that still lingers. Was this chaos accidental or engineered? Some insiders whispered that Remy knew exactly what she was doing, that distancing herself from Papoose was a calculated step in rebranding herself, that the controversy, the silence, even the affair rumors were all part of a bigger pivot from being a rapper's wife to becoming an untouchable mogul in her own right. Whether that's true or just social media conspiracy, one thing is certain. Remy Ma flipped the script. She took a narrative that could have destroyed her and turned it into the biggest headline of her career. And while fans still debate what really happened behind the scenes, Remy isn't waiting for their approval. She's building, expanding, and making moves that have nothing to do with Papoose or Eazy. In the end, the love story that once inspired the culture became a cautionary tale. A reminder that loyalty, fame, and power don't always coexist. And maybe, just maybe, Remy Ma had always planned it this way because sometimes the most shocking story is the one you never see coming.